Okay, welcome back, everybody, to Wisdom Without the Guru. This is the final special episode with Tracy Fance. And we've had three already. If you haven't listened to them already, they have been about the basics of understanding tarot, about understanding and working with spirit guides. And the last one was to do with finding life purpose. And all of them are quite interesting. And I've been asking Tracy a lot of questions based on what I needed to know and what I had questions about, but also what I felt that listeners would. And of course, feel free to reach out to Tracy and, follow up on a conversation or any points that you found that were interesting or maybe you want to know more about. And of course, reach out to her. Her website is going to be at the bottom. If you're watching this on video, it's going to be at the bottom of the video. And if you are listening, it will be in the show notes. But Tracy Fance, she is a tarot card reader and a medium and a psychic, and she helps people with various things in discovering their life's purpose and working with to understand their own spirituality and psychic gifts. And I'm really, really very extremely grateful, and I can't say this enough, that she's probably tired of me here saying that, that she has done these 4 special episodes because I think that they're interesting, they're little snippets, and they help you to understand a little bit more and maybe push you to maybe want to know more and maybe include that in your toolbox of your journey of life. So, this episode is about law of attraction. And I've already told Tracy that I'm a bit about law of attraction because I have got some things that I really don't like about it. And then because I think that the law of attraction is just a word that's just thrown out there randomly. And especially since the book The Secret came out, and people think that the ways in which they use it, I just think are detrimental to themselves. So we will just dive right in. Welcome back, Tracy.
And I that. I feel like I'm about to have the lights on me like Mastermind and be grilled.
No. Anyway, the law of attraction. First of all, what the heck is it?
So, the law of attraction is just a principle, the same as gravity. Okay, it's a principle that governs our spiritual nature because we are all spiritual beings having a human existence, as Wayne Dyer said. And therefore, we've got human stuff that governs us, like, the law of the land. And we have rules and laws that govern our spiritual side. And the law of attraction is something that people are using every day, whether they realize it or not. But most people are using it in the way that isn't beneficial.
So, I mean, it's been called the law of attraction. I don't know. It came into my awareness with the book The Secret, which I don't know when that came out, in early 2000s, something like that,
Yeah.
late 2000s. But it is a term, I think, that sort of has been popping up into social media and whatnot since that book.
hmm
But like you say, it's always existed. It might have been called something else, but it's always existed. So, um, can you talk a little bit about the origin of it, if you know? I mean, I'm sure that some Greek philosopher back there or back then was talking about it, just wasn't calling it the law of attraction.
It probably goes back even further than that, to be honest. People also refer to it as manifestation or manifesting. So if that works better for you, then we'll just use that term. Basically, the principle is that everything is energy. We are energy, our body is energy, our thoughts are energy, our emotions are energy, the chair you're sat on is energy. It's all energy. And so when we put a thought out into the universe, negative or positive, it's going to affect the energy of something or someone or the planet as a whole. So, for instance, I think it was back in the mid 80s, something like that. The Buddhists did a experiment around the world where everybody was going to pray at a certain time, however that fell in their time zone, but they were going to pray as a collective. Now, during the time of those experiments, actually lots of wars came to an end. There was a lot more positive humanitarian things going on, like culturally, socially, not just, like starving in Africa and things like that. And there was this massive change in the energy of the planet. And it just happened to coincide with these prayer times. So that positive energy that they were putting out, whether they were asking for something specific like world peace or whether they were just sending out positive intention doesn't matter. But that was that was the outcome that they could see. Now, I appreciate that you can't measure it. You can't go, well, we started at 7 o'clock and at 5 past 7, that war finished. It doesn't work like that. But you could see the changes for good across the whole of the planet. And then, you know, I think there was a time when it all tailed off and the world kind of slipped backwards a bit. And then I think in the pandemic, there was a lot of that kind of thing going on. Lots of people were starting prayer circles and things. And I personally have seen a shift for the better in humanity and in cultures since lockdown. So that's the power of intention. Um, the other experiment that you could look at if you're kind of like, yeah, well, is it real or not? There's a load of videos on YouTube by Dr. Emoto, Emoto,
Mm,
and I think it's just called the water experiment. Do you know it?
yes. Yes, yes, yes.
And so he sent energy to the different Petri dishes. He sent love, he sent hate, he sent swear words, he did all sorts. And then when they froze them and looked at them under the microscope, the ones that he'd sent anything negative to, like anger and swear words and what have you, they were all black and gnarled and they just looked really grim, whereas the rest just looked like beautiful snowflakes. So then he defrosted them and sent positive energy to the negative ones, froze it, and looked again, and it had completely changed it. So it had gone back to being beautiful, snowflakey. Okay. So the power of our thoughts, both towards ourselves, other people, and the planet as a whole, we should have a lot more responsibility. And, when you look at the trolls on social media and the vile stuff that they put on there, that's really not good for them or the person it's aimed at or anybody reading it. And even if they're not a nasty person, they might just be, in a world of pain. That negativity out there is really not helping anybody or anything.
So it's interesting what you're saying because you're actually talking about really energy as a whole and how it interacts and how it's interconnected and how, you pull one string and then another part moves
Hmm.
in the whole connection, the whole web of life. But in terms of the law of attraction, people usually think of the law of attraction as manifesting, like you said. So I want to attract wealth into my life. And of course, all the usual things. I want to attract health into my life. I want to attract a partner into my life. I want to attract a new job into my life. These are the types of things. And so it's been my experience that you better be careful what you want to attract and how you say it because words are energy, thoughts are energy, like you said. And I actually this is a bit of an aside, but when I had this huge energetic opening happen to me, I mean, I started feeling waves of energy going through my body. I started seeing wave forms in what was around me. I would go into this huge bookstore that we had in Singapore called Kinokuniya. It's fantastic. I love this bookstore. Absolutely amazing. All sorts of different languages, huge. Anyway, I couldn't stay in there. I was overwhelmed, and I was pretty certain the reason I was overwhelmed was of all the energy coming from all the words and all the stories in that bookstore. I couldn't take it. I didn't feel that anywhere else, only in that bookstore. And of course, it was probably amplified by the fact that they had a whole bunch of crystals in the middle that they never cleaned. So, you know, I would go into that bookstore and I'd have to leave after about, 5 minutes, 10 minutes max because I felt bad. I literally felt bad physically. So, having that experience of saying, "Oh, yes, I want this and I want that." And, "Oh, yeah, I want wealth." And then somebody in your family dies and you've got wealth.
Mm,
So this is something, talk about that. I mean, people just don't, this whole law of attraction and manifesting and putting out there how people need to be very careful about what they put out there
absolutely.
that they want to attract.
Yeah. I did actually know someone that used to wish that her boyfriend would get cancer and die, and he did. And she was actually very spiritual, so that really messed with her when she realized that she'd been doing that. But they had quite an abusive relationship when she was doing all of that. And ironically, it was after they'd moved into a place of healing and they were both dealing with their past life stuff and everything else. And they were just friends, but they were actually not toxic, that he got the cancer and died. Um, but I also believe a lot of that was his own thoughts, because he he was always very down on himself. He never felt he was good enough. He was like the poor boy done well. And, he always needed to be seen to be the most generous, buying the most round of drinks or paying for the golf or whatever. So it wasn't just her, but that is the power of thought. Um, and actually, what normally happens, and I'm sure most people will recognize this because we've all had times in our lives where things have been challenging financially. You get a bill through the door and you go, "Oh my God, how am I going to pay that bill? Oh God, I hope there's no more bills coming." Well, the universe doesn't hear the "I hope there's no more." So the next time you get a load of post, there's more bills. And you're like, "Oh God, more bills. Oh, for God's sake, how am I going to pay these bills? I hope that there's no more bills coming." And then the next day there's even more. And it's like, oh no. Okay. So there is this thing that most people are ordering up what they don't want because they don't realize the power of their thoughts. So if you switch that around to "I am debt free, I am bill free, all my bills are paid," it's a completely different energy. Um, and when we're talking about manifesting, it's always done in the present tense or the past tense, like "I am" or "I have." Okay. When we say "I will have wealth," well, that's a future tense, and the future never gets here
Uh,
because we're either in the present or we're not here. Um, and so that's a big part of the language, is making sure that you're saying the right things, even when you're not consciously aware that you're saying it. And that's the big one. We might have conscious thought, like you look at your bank account and go, "Oh, flipping heck, it's empty. What am I going to do?" But then for the rest of the day, your subconscious is probably having this little um, mini meltdown for the rest of the day. Going, "I've got to get some money. I've got to get some money. I've got to get some money." And then lo and behold, more bills come in. So it's dealing with the thoughts that you're not consciously aware of having. They've got to be dismantled so that they're not interfering. And that's one of the tough things about it.
yeah, you're right. You just pointed something out that's very key, is that what's going on in your mind below, that little hamster
Yeah.
that's in the back there turning, even though you're trying to focus on something else,
Yeah.
that's always constantly bringing back up this thing. I used to, I think I did this at one point, but it's hard to do it now because, now everything is digital. You don't pay with checks. Uh, I had somebody who told me they did this, and I think I did it at one point, that whenever they got a bill and they paid it, they used to put "Thank you for your service," like, the telephone bill, "Thank you for having the phone working." They used to write it, or write a little note and put it on. Yeah, I don't think you could write it on the check, that might not validate it, but you could write a little note and put it with it. So it was like, saying, "Okay, thank you for this service." And it's like this energy exchange that happened. Is like, I know I paid it. Maybe I didn't have the funds to pay it, but I paid it and thank you, it's on. So it was a different way of looking at it. And it was a good way of, like you say, putting that positivity out there as well. All right. I have something very, very funny. It's funny, but it was a not wasn't terrifying, but this happened to me once. Had a job where I was living in France and I had been sent back to the States for a while, and I was living in Indianapolis, and I my boyfriend from France came to visit me, and he and I were just not getting along. I don't know what it was, and he was just completely ticking me off. And we're going to this he'd never been to a baseball game, so we're going to this baseball game. I get completely lost trying to find it, and I'm one of these stress drivers, if I can't find my way, and he's just not helping me. So by the time we actually get to the baseball game, I'm so furious. I'm just completely mad. Just don't want to talk to him. Completely ticked off. I just mad at the world. And do you know how many times that baseball came flying right at me? I mean, I actually recognized it after a while. So, oh my God, I'm attracting this fury to me. It got to the point where the little kids in the arena, they'd come and sit in front of me because they knew the ball was coming my way eventually. And I mean, it was coming fast, so if I'd been hit with it, and that happened like 3 times. So, I thought, all right, to me, that was just, something to tell me that you need to calm down.
Mm.
This is you're out of control. You're attracting something that's just going to smack you in the face and make you wake up. So, yeah, I mean, so I think this is a very good example of the law of attraction
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. And what is it they say? Action goes where the energy flows, or energy flows where the thought go. I can't remember what the saying is. So basically, if you're thinking of somebody, you're sending energy to them. So are you sitting there going, "You ruined my life. If it wasn't for you, my life would be perfect." When actually it's your decisions that you need to be focused on. And so you can send negative energy to them without really meaning to. And so, these people that rant and rave on social media about someone famous that they don't even really know, they just have an opinion, you're sending all that negativity to them. And it's not it's not something you would do if you knew how it was impacting. If that was a bullet or a knife, would you still throw it? And we do that with energy a lot without realizing how it impacts. And that person on the receiving end could get a headache, or they might fall over and hurt themselves, or they might get like actually sick. It can really impact.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this, what you were talking about yesterday, because I was thinking about, all these famous people who are out there, and particularly because I watch a lot of Chinese and K dramas. So, their idols are, just that, idols, and there's a lot of that happens. And when you see on social media some of the things people say is, "Oh, I love this person. Oh, my husband," or, "Oh, my wife," or whatnot. And I was just thinking to myself, what do these people feel with all these thousands and thousands of people are thinking about them in this way, or and are maybe even having sexual fantasies with them in their mind. I mean, come on, I'm just saying it right here.
No, it's
That, what kind of effect does that have on the person who is in their fantasy, or who they're having all these thoughts about? I mean, how does that I mean, we see how it happens. Some of them end up committing suicide because they can't handle it.
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just an interesting thing to think about.
But also, within that energy, you've got the ones who are going, "Oh, aren't they an amazing actor, singer,
Mm,
singer, whatever?" And that's fine. But then there becomes that obsessive note, like, Kathy, what's her name in the Stephen King one? I'm your number one fan, Misery, and then it becomes warped. So you're no longer sending a positive energy, you're now actually sending a negative energy. And then, what about the ones that are already obsessed into stalker land, So, there's shades. It's not even black and white, positive, negative. And even just talking more down to earth, like if we were obsessed with someone in the office and wanted to date them and sleep with them and everything else, on that one-to-one level, that's toxic and dangerous. And we shouldn't give all our power, like, "I'm nobody without you, come back." No, 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 that's just so wrong. You are complete without this person. This person is the cherry on top of the cake. They're not the cake themselves. And so something positive can easily become something quite negative, and then you're putting that out there. And that's definitely, definitely not good.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So in fact, manifestation is only an aspect of law of attraction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Again, it's like made up of different facets. So there's the mindset about thinking positive. There's the intention. So you've got to be clear on what it is you want, because you might say, oh, I just want to win the lottery and you win a pound. Well, you got what you wanted. You didn't put parameters on it. Okay. But we also have to make sure we don't limit ourselves. So you could say, oh, I only want £5,000 on the lottery. Well, you might have been about to get the millions and the universe is going, oh, she don't want it. So then you've got to make sure that you say, please, could you give me £5,000 on the lottery to pay my medical bill or whatever's for my highest good? Because you don't want to limit yourself. Um, then, of course, we've got things like, have you got karma and have you got soul contracts and have you got other things going on? That means,
I was just about to go into that. Say, how does that tie in? Because you could ask for $1 million or £1 million or whatever, euros,
hmm,
but if it's not in your soul contract or not in your life purpose, you're screwed. You don't get it.
I think it's down to whether you've done the work, because if you've got a karma thing going on because you've been rich in all these previous lives and you've got to learn what it's like to not have money and to handle money better and everything else. If you haven't done that work to clear all of that, then I don't feel that you're going to get the big lottery win, because you haven't done the work. Now, if you've cleared that work and you totally get what it's like to have to budget and not have much money and to be careful with it and to not just, blow your whole month's budget on a gold ring and now you can't eat for the week or whatever it is, you know, if you've cleared it all, then yes, you can access that. But if you haven't done the work and haven't cleared the box and haven't learnt the lessons, then no, you won't get it, because you'll just go, "Oh, I don't need to learn about being humble and poverty now because I've got 10 million in the bank."
Yeah. Yeah. I knew somebody in Singapore who had, for some reason, she was able to tell, and apparently she was quite successful about this. She used to tell people, like when they would win the lottery or that they had the potential to win the lottery. And apparently, quite a lot of her clients had won something in the lottery. So she told me that. So I thought, okay, so I'm going to go to the lottery. But do you know that I was in the lottery and I became so panicky and afraid that I would actually win something? It was ridiculous. I can't believe how I was. There was this aspect of, what if she really said is true and I do get something? It was frightening. It was actually, without me even realizing it, it was frightening. I mean, palms were sweating, and the closer I got, I mean, I was literally shaking, going, you know, and I think that maybe that counteracted almost if I could have gotten it, because I was afraid of it. Sort of became that question about, wow, what if what she's able to do is real,
Mm,
and that, this can happen? What then? What that means, what else is real? All these other things that are happening to me. So it was a very interesting and eye-opening experience,
mm.
as well as, I mean, can you imagine? You're scared going up to buy a lottery ticket because you think you might actually win.
But
As
then that
messed
happens
up as that?
that happens a lot. Like in the UK, you can go and buy a lottery ticket, and I've been there when I've got, like, friends together in front of me or family, and they're going, "Oh, I'm just gonna get a lottery ticket, and then we'll go and have a coffee or whatever." And it's like, I don't know why, because 'cause I'm probably not gonna win anything. It's like, well, you've just negated any of the positivity you had, or you'll get someone going, "Oh, I really like so and so, but he'll never go out with me." And we do it a lot. "Oh, I've gone for this job, but I don't think I'll get it. I don't really think I'm good enough. I don't really think I'm what they're looking for." So the power of belief is actually a huge, huge thing, because if you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't, as Henry Ford said. Um, and it's true, because when people come to me to do development classes, there will be maybe one, if not two, depending on the size of the group, who'll go, "Well, I don't really think I'm psychic. I don't really think I'm going to be able to do this, but I was really excited to come along." And it's like, right, well, we need to change that because you're not going to get anything if you don't think you can. Um, and the my partner's really good at the power of belief. And we had a conference in Paris a little while ago, and they were going to give money to people, and they just literally were giving out numbers like 1 to 49 or whatever it was. And myself, my partner, and the two friends that we were with, as soon as they knew that we were going to get our house door number, all were convinced that we were going to win, and we did. And we hadn't even gotten the number off the person, but we'd worked out that where we were in the queue, this is the number we were going to be, and we won. And that total belief that we were going to do it, and we just laughed afterwards, and everyone was like, "How did you know?" It's like, just power of belief, just felt that energy that we were going to win. And it was only $100 or $200. It wasn't vast sums of money, but it was really great, and it paid for a nice dinner that evening. So you have to believe that you can have it, that you deserve it, that you're worthy enough. Because if you're sitting there picking your lottery numbers, going, "Oh, I'm probably not going to win," like, don't bother doing it then. Save your money. Um, so another key component of manifesting is that belief.
Yeah, and also, I think a key component from what we're both saying of the law of attraction is awareness and mindfulness and constantly watching your thoughts and your words and your actions as well, because it's all energy. And then, like you say, if you're contradicting what it is you want,
Mm.
and some of us, I mean, I do it. I'm well aware of what mindfulness and awareness is, and I try to be careful about it. But, there are moments when you just sort of snap and you get taken out of it. So, I mean, it's a constant practice that you have to do. And I don't think that many people realize that all of these are intertwined. So, can you kind of talk a little bit more about how this interconnection is? Excuse me, can't say that word. This interconnectedness happens.
Okay. So it is really just building it up. So start with a gratitude practice. Every day when you get up, just think of three things that you're really grateful for, and really feel it in your heart chakra. Don't just go, "Oh, yeah, I'm really grateful for the roof over my head." You can't just pay lip service to it. And I always tell my students, you can't put the same thing every day. And after the first week, it gets harder because you've easily blown through that. "Well, I'm grateful for a roof over my head, and I'm grateful for food in the cupboard, and da 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 da." And if you have to go with a negative, like, "You know what, I'm just grateful I don't live in Gaza, or I don't live in the Ukraine," that's fine too. But it's about finding the positives even in something that doesn't feel good. And the story is that the lotus flower starts in the mud and the silt at the bottom of the pond or the lake or whatever, and it has to find its way to the top, and then it can blossom. And it's the same with us. We've got to come through that mud, and you might have no money in the bank, you might not have a job, you might have bad health, but there's always something to be grateful for. I remember saying to someone once, might have been online actually, "You know what? Even though you've got poor health, you can be grateful that you're still here." She said, "Well, I don't want to be here still." I'm like, "Okay." Um, but if you're going to be stuck in that mentality, then you're going to have a lot of negative things happen. But if you can shift it away from that to, "Okay, so I don't have the best of health, but today I'm not in as much pain as yesterday, and I'm grateful for that. Today I was able to walk around the house, which I couldn't yesterday. I'm grateful for that." So sometimes it really feels like you're reaching, but it will get you out of that negative mindset. And eventually, and it does take time, eventually you won't have the negative thoughts. You will always find the positive. Like, you go, "Oh, well, it's bucketing down with rain. Oh, well, the garden needs it." Gratitude. Okay. And that really lifts your vibration. And you need to have a reasonably high vibration to do manifesting. Otherwise, you are going to just manifest more chaos and more grief and more drama situations that you don't really want. So it is a process. Once you've got the gratitude thing sorted and it is more automatic rather than an effort, then you can bring in something else. Because if you overload yourself, you just won't do it. You know, uh, we talk about vision boards where you've got pictures of the things that you want. Like maybe you want that romantic partner and you want that beautiful holiday to Bali or whatever it is. So put the pictures up, but with the pictures, you have to keep moving them because our brain gets used to seeing the same old. Like you have that beautiful picture behind your head, but do you see that every single time you walk in the room, or does your brain just see what it wants to see? And then someone else walks in and goes, "Oh, that's a lovely picture." And you're like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, it is." And so you have to move it around so that the eye keeps seeing it. And then it keeps imprinting it on the brain that you want this holiday, you want this partnership, you want this check for £50,000 a year or whatever it is. Um, you've got to trust that it's going to come. So you have to trust your guides, trust the universe, and sort of then just let go of the outcome. It's like, right, I've set my intention. I've asked for £50,000 a year every year. I've told my guides what I want, and I've got my picture of the check. I believe that I deserve it and that I'm worthy. That's it. Go and get on with something else. Okay. And quite often, what people do is they keep putting in the same request. And that's like, keep refreshing your browser page and never going to get there. Um, so if you keep asking for the same thing, it's going to slow things down. So that's why you've got to trust and then disconnect and let go of it and just trust that it's going to come. And you have to say thank you before it's even got here because, again, it's the gratitude energy. Um, so I would say work on your gratitude and your positive mental attitude as a whole, because you can't sit there going, I'm grateful for this, that, and the other, and then go out and go, oh, she's horrible. Oh, they've got a nice posh car. I bet they've ripped someone off. You've got to bring this into all areas of life and live it. And so it is a process. And some people are more positive than others. And some people have had a lot of things thrown at them that have pulled them down, and they may not even realize that they've gotten into that negative mindset or a victim mindset, or even the what is the point because nothing good happens to me, completely hopeless mental attitude. So it's not an overnight thing. And, it does take practice and it does take effort. But you can totally change anything you want to as long as you put in the work.
So, what about affirmations? This is something that I really am not, I don't like them because I think people just put affirmations out there. I've stuck this post it note on my mirror every day. It's an affirmation and that's it. So,
Yeah.
talk about affirmations a bit.
Okay. Well, I'm with you with affirmations because I think they've been put out there as the answer to the whole problem. And they're not. Again, they're another facet of the diamond. And if I said back in the day, I am an amazing, lovable person, and I have the person right for me, I don't think I would have believed that. And you have to believe what you're saying. Let's say that you're 20 stone and you're going, I am a size 8 and I love myself. That might be such a big stretch. Your brain is not going to get on board with that. So you have to then find the stepping stones. So break it down. It's like, okay, I don't even know what dress size you'd be if you were 20 stone. Let's say you're a size 22. Um, I am a size 20 and I love myself because that's achievable. And when you get to that, you can then set the next goal. You're not going to go from earning nothing to earning 1 million overnight unless you're a really rare person. So again, break it down into achievable affirmations. I believe in myself. I trust myself. The universe looks out for me. Go with those and then move the goalpost. But an affirmation on its own is not going to do the trick. You've got to do all the other stuff. And again, the typical behavior is you read your affirmation on your mirror And then you get in the car and you're moaning about the traffic on the way to work, and you're thinking about the boss that you hate, and you're straight back in all that negativity. Just be grateful you've got a boss and you've got a job. And if you don't like it, go get another job. So it's not about toxic positivity, which I really don't like. Um, it is about, do you know what? I'm grateful that I have a job and I can look for another job,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
rather than, oh God, I'm stuck with this darn job. You've got to encompass all the different facets. If you can pick one and make it work and manifest diamonds and jewelry and holidays around the world and whatever else it is you want, then brilliant. But I think that would be incredibly rare. I just don't think that that happens.
And the other thing also is do the work. The thing about putting up an affirmation about the I wanna, I'm going to be 10 kilos less. Well, if you don't do the exercise and start eating healthily, then that's just not gonna happen. So, when I was in my 20s, my late 20s, I wanted to move to Paris. I wanted to move to France. So my manifestation, my law of attraction was I did something, even if it was for 5 minutes every day, that led to that thing that I wanted to attract, the thing that I want to do. So I had like this tiny little, these tourist things of the Eiffel Tower. I had that on my desk at work. I had one at home. I used to listen to, these French programs to try to improve my French, even though I'd had French for years. I went and I took a class on culture shock, on the culture differences. I always was trying to do just something little towards that thing that I wanted to manifest, that I wanted to attract. And I mean that is something that I think people just miss, is they think that with the affirmation is I put that sticky note up there, I put my affirmation out there, and it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, we were laughing about this at the weekend actually, because I I was saying to someone, look, there's a job change coming for you, but that doesn't mean you should like go and jack your job in tomorrow. There's other things you've got to do first. So, you know, and then we were laughing about, well, I'll go and get a lottery ticket and I'll win that and then I can do what I want. And I said, okay, great, brilliant. How's that worked out for you so far? She said, I don't buy tickets. I said, you're never going to win then. And I've had it so many times where people are like, yeah, I want a relationship. And it's like, well, what about this? What about this? And they're going, oh no, I don't go anywhere. I don't do anything. It's like, well, you're waiting for the DPD guy to knock on your door and go, oh, by the way, will you marry me? I said, you've got to put yourself out there. You've got to go out of the house. You've got to go places. And you might literally meet the DPD guy at the drive and fall madly in love. I'm not saying that that doesn't happen, but you've got to go to the supermarket. You've got to go to work. You've got to go out into town and go shopping. So, you've got to put yourself out there. Same with jobs. You're not going to get a phone call out of the blue from some company going, oh, we'd love you to come and work for us. You've got to send your CV out. So, people forget about that. People just want the results. They forget that you've got to meet the universe halfway. It's not going to just do it on its own.
Mm, okay. Well, any final pointers or any final words, any final advice around the law of attraction?
Mm, I definitely believe that it is a thing. And we all know that we can put a thought out about someone, like, I don't know, maybe you're thinking of someone you went to school with 10 years ago and then you bump into them, you're like, whoa. Or you think of someone and then they phone you. Okay. So that is a definite thing. So if you bring all those pieces of the puzzle together and start doing all of it, you can certainly manifest more of what you want and learn how to not manifest the stuff that you don't want, like the bills. And the bad weather and what have you. So just do all those different facets. And the next thing you know, there'll be automatic behavior and you won't even think about the fact that you're doing it. And your life will be incredibly different.
I'm just going to close with one manifesting story because it just popped into my head when you said weather. So I used to arrange weddings in the Bahamas for people, mainly for Europeans. And because I'm from the Bahamas originally, and there's a lot of beautiful, beautiful places. And I had arranged a wedding for about 10 people who were coming from France in one of the islands, Abaco. And it was in November. So November is not exactly the best time of the year to be going to the Bahamas for the weather. It can be a bit windy, it can be a bit rainy, whatnot. Anyway, so they were going to have a special houseboat take them over to this strand of beach somewhere to get married. Well, all week long, it's been horrible weather. It's not been rainy, but people couldn't go fishing because the waves were too high. So I actually had in my room, I had taken 3 crystals. I had taken, clear quartz, rose quartz, and, amethyst, and I had written a note, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was something along the lines about beautiful, perfect weather, perfect day for the wedding, and I had it sitting there for about 4 days prior to the actual wedding. Do you know that on the day of the wedding, it had been absolutely terrible weather before that, cleared right up, flat calm, beautiful sky, perfect day. I mean, that was the law of attraction right there, just saying, "Okay, this," and of course, I was doing everything to prepare for this wedding ceremony as well and make it this perfect, beautiful thing for these people. So, I mean, to me, that was when you talk about the weather, I thought, "Oh, I manifested that. I attracted
Yeah,
that."
absolutely. You know, and we did that recently as well. And we were worried about this beach party we were having with 40 of my partner's cousins all getting together. And his mum's in her late 80s. And we were like, oh, do you know what? It's been really quite cold, even though it's the summer. Maybe we should move it to your sister's because it's not going to be much fun for your mum. And he went, the weather's going to be beautiful. It's going to be fine. We had the hottest day of the year so far. My other half is making paella. So he's over this great big pan for 60 people, 34 degrees, which is hot for the UK. Everybody's melting, and we're in his sister's garden. But we were still grateful we weren't on the beach because it would have been too hot on the beach. So it all worked out fine. But my partner was so adamant the weather was going to be absolutely fine. And it was. But in Britain, you can just normally count on the weather not being good. So it was quite funny that we'd managed to manifest this really super duper hot day.
So look back at your life, I think, and look for those points where maybe you have manifested something, because I'm sure that if you really retrospectively sit back and look, that you will find them and see how this actually does happen. And of course, happens in the contrary, like me with the the baseball coming my way when I was really angry.
One other thing I would say is if you're in a relationship with someone or you're working with a business partner, you might want to get on board with them or get them on board with you. Because if you're going, yay, we need abundance, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and your partner's doing like the anti manifesting stuff, or they've got karma that means that they're not meant to have it at the moment, you need that to be equal. So whatever you're manifesting, if it involves other people, then that it's not going to be a problem, but it's going to make it trickier because, like the garden party, when we had 40 of us, if you've got 39 people going, oh, it'll probably rain, it's Britain, and then you've got one person going, it'll be fine, the power of the energy probably means that, they could out manifest you. So make sure that you work as a collective if there's more than one person involved.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think that's a very good point. And in today's scenery of what is happening in the world, working as a collective to make things better and to improve things is definitely needed.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. The power of that communal thought is just it amplifies it. So yeah, definitely work as a collective wherever possible.
okay, well, that brings us to the end of this fourth and final special episode of the podcast with Tracy Fance. And Tracy, I just want to thank you so much again for really taking the time these past 4 episodes. And of course, the one where you actually shared all about your life into becoming who you are. So, everybody who's listening, please, if you haven't listened to that one, go back and listen, because you might actually find some points in Tracy's life that actually are very similar to yours, or something that you're facing and dealing with as well. And this is the case with all the guests who come on the podcast, is that there's something that's in there to share that other people can maybe think about differently or can help them. And Tracy definitely did that. So thank you so much.
No,
I
I
really appreciate it.
always love talking about this stuff. I could talk for years about it.
I know we were talking off mic about some of the other things. I could have just kept asking you questions about this, but we'd have been there for another hour. And it was supposed to be a mini podcast. So anyway, so, obviously, Tracy can help you with, all the things that to do with your life path and any other information that you want in discovering your own spirituality and your own psychic gifts and helping you to work with the law of attraction as well. And maybe, like, as she's explained, as she's done with some people who have come to her, pointing out where you are at odds with what you're hoping to attract and what you're saying and doing.
Yeah.
So her website again is at the bottom if you're looking at the video, and it will be in the show notes if you are listening to the audio of this. So any closing words? Anything else you want to say after these 4 episodes?
I've loved it. Happy manifesting. And whichever show or shows you've listened to, I just hope that it's been beneficial. You've gotten some ideas, those little aha moments, and just do keep going with your spiritual development because it literally is life changing, and you'll be so pleased that you did it.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. It's been life-changing for me, and it's been life-changing multiple times, and it's just a continual journey.
Mhm.
And that is one of the points that Tracy has been trying to say, that anybody can do it. It's not just the special people. Anybody can do it. So thank you, listeners. Please feel free to reach out to Tracy and to contact her for any further questions. Join her tarot circle that she's having, or she does meditations that she has on her website as well, and different events. And of course, if you're in the UK, you also do like Heart, Mind, Body festivals or
Yeah.
things like that, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go and find her if you happen to be in her area, which is, again, what area are you in?
I'm in Kent, so just outside London.
Okay, but you do Heart, Mind, Body in London as well, so at times.
Yeah, I do travel around, mostly the southeast of England. But
Uh,
yeah, I can be found at other places depending on what's happening.
well, if you follow her on Instagram, you'll know where she is if you wanna meet her in person, but she also does online. Anyway, everybody, really, really thank you for joining us for these 4 episodes. It's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed asking the questions and hearing the answers and having a little bit back and forth and sharing from both of our paths and our experience, which has been interesting as well to learn. And I hope that you will find some things in there to help you on your own personal journey and your own spiritual growth or wellness journey, or however you want to call it. And tune in the next time whenever we have a special podcast. And until then, I hope you have a fantastic day wherever you are in this huge, beautiful, wonderful world. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.